Excellencies, distinguished participants, I have the honor to present the report on technical assistance and capacity building provided to South Sudan as mandated by Human Rights Council Resolution 5526. And while our primary focus of the Council today is on technical cooperation, we cannot overlook the severe security, human rights, and humanitarian crisis that is unfolding once again in South Sudan. The escalating situation threatens very seriously to undermine any progress that has been made so far, with potentially devastating consequences for civilians. The recent surge in violence in Nasir County, Upper Nile State, has resulted in numerous deaths, including the loss of an UNMISS personnel, and triggered rising political tensions amongst the signatory groups. Furthermore, the indiscriminate aerial bombardment on Sudan's People's Liberation Army and opposition cantonment sites has caused immense suffering to civilians, displacement, and significant destruction of infrastructure. The Office calls on all parties to the revitalized peace agreement to immediately cease hostilities and engage in constructive dialogue. The government must ensure the protection of civilians and unhindered humanitarian access. We are also concerned by the arrest and arbitrary detention of several officials connected to or associated with the Sudan People's Liberation Movement in opposition. The conditions of detention and the treatment of these individuals remain unclear, given UNMISS's restricted access to National Security Services detention centers. The dismissal of several senior government officials over the past months is also deeply troubling, as it undermines the power-sharing structure outlined in the revitalized agreement and signals a deterioration of domestic democratic guarantees. The recent house arrest of First Vice President Riek Machar is alarming and threatens to jeopardize the peace process. Hate speech on social media is fueling ethnic tensions, inciting violence, and exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. This situation highlights the urgent need for continued international support to prevent a complete relapse into civil war and to ensure the full implementation of the peace agreement. Madam Vice President, in the fragile context of South Sudan, continuous monitoring of the human rights landscape has been instrumental in shaping our technical cooperation and interventions. Our technical assistance programs have focused on addressing specific human rights concerns and capacity gaps, as discussed with the government of South Sudan and other stakeholders at the national and state levels. The legal frameworks for the Commission for Truth, Reconciliation and Healing and the Compensation and Reparation Authority were signed into law on 11 November 2024. These frameworks are critical to advancing transitional justice in South Sudan. It is essential that the government provides adequate funding for the effective operation of these mechanisms. However, the delay in the establishment of the hybrid court for South Sudan is of concern. During the reporting period, OHCHR, represented by the UNMISS Human Rights Division, conducted extensive capacity building and technical cooperation efforts to raise awareness and facilitate dialogue amongst a wide range of stakeholders. The recent appointment of a chairperson and deputy chairperson of the South Sudan National Human Rights Commission is a positive development. We will continue to support the Commission to enable it to effectively implement its mandate. Restrictions on civic space remain severe, with ongoing repression of civil society actors, journalists, and others critical of the government. To mitigate some of these challenges, the UNMISS Human Rights Division has conducted training on human rights, the role of civil society in elections, and on political participation for civil society organizations, NGOs, and human rights defenders in Bentiu, Unity State, for example. This initiative resulted in the establishment of a human rights defenders network in Unity State. At the same time, the report tabled today demonstrates that incidents of conflict-related sexual violence have increased by 72% compared to last year. Such incidents continue to be underreported owing to stigma, trauma, a lack of trust in legal institutions, limited access to support services, and fear of retaliation. In response, our capacity-building activities have focused on enhancing prevention and response measures, including by the police, legal actors, and civil society representatives. Key initiatives included training for police investigators and prosecutors in April 2024, aimed at enhancing their expertise in investigating gender-based violence and conflict-related sexual violence, contributing to improved victims' protection. Excellencies, it is abundantly clear that considerable efforts are needed to achieving lasting improvements in the human rights situation across the country. Any plans for sustainable peace must tackle the root causes of the conflict. However, continued human rights technical cooperation efforts will only bear fruit if the parties in South Sudan recommit to the peace agreement. There is a sense of urgency today, and so we call on the international community to offer mediation efforts and collectively urge for de-escalation. Continued political and financial support for South Sudan's nation-building endeavors remained critical to ensuring long-standing stability and progress. But these will only make any difference if the political will for peace prevails over ongoing conflict and violence. I thank you.